All right, we have a quorum, and I'll call to order the Land Clearance Redevelopment Authority for the City of St. Louis for its regularly scheduled meeting held on September 23, 2025 at 3 p.m. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Evans, not present. Commissioner Koenig,
Present.
Commissioner Spencer,
Present.
Commissioner Jones,
Present.
and Chair McBride.
Present.
And you have a quorum with 4 present and 1 absent.
Thank you. This time we'll take up approval of the minutes for the meeting held on August 26, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Koenig,
Abstain.
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
I guess I have to vote in order to make a majority, so aye.
okay. And Chair McBride.
Aye.
And the motion passes with 3 voting yes and 1 abstention.
Thank you. And now we'll take up resolution 25 LCRA 10949 regarding 8111 North Broadway. Zach, you gonna walk us through that?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This resolution is declaring 8111 North Broadway to be blighted and approving a redevelopment plan for the same address. It's a mixed-use building located in Baden on North Broadway. First floor will be event space. Second floor will be office space. Third floor will be an apartment. Anthony and Tiana Broadway bought the building for $20,000. They're investing $75,000 into the building. It's mostly sweat equity. They're doing most of the work themselves. The map for residential we have out there is for 15 years of tax abatement. Staff supports 10 years at 95 currently for this project because it's mixed use. And be happy answering questions.
So the developers are Broadway for development to occur on Broadway. Is that correct?
Yes, I did not plan this, but it's yes.
Well, that's outstanding.
Yes.
Do we have any understanding as to what you said there's going to be a commercial on the first floor?
It's an event space where they can rent the space out for parties and things like that. It was vacant before. There's some type of damage, fire and water damage, had a new roof put on. So they're in the process of working on it as we speak.
All right. And do we have any of the impact reports?
No, this is under $1 million. So
it is. Okay, I was just scrolling down. Okay, it is under $1 million. Very good.
So we follow the map that we have online that we adopted in 2021. So
very good. Anyone else have questions for Zach?
Maybe I misread it, but I'm sorry. Did I read that this is occupied or no?
It's partially occupied. They have finished the first floor, so they do rent this first floor out at times.
Okay.
The upper floors are vacant and they're working on it slowly. So as you can see, the picture on the right is what the interior looks like on the second and third floors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Zach on this resolution? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 25 LCRA 10949.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Jones and seconded by Commissioner Spencer. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye.
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
and Chair McBride.
Aye.
Motion passes with all voting yes.
Thank you. Now we'll take up resolution 25 LCRA 10950 regarding 4359 Lindell Boulevard.
Yeah, I would.
Zach, you gonna walk us through that?
I will do the intro, but I will pass off to Paul. This project, this address, 4359 Lindell Boulevard, is the Engineers Club. We've had many developers look at the site and determine that it's not feasible or walk away because issues about demoing the property. We are doing this blind study and redevelopment plan to be proactive. We hopefully do this in other areas that have tax exempt properties so we can maximize the return to the city. We have many properties that have to go through a process of development that we lay out the incentives and make it clear what we can support. That will help encourage developers to look at the site in the future and encourage them to have a predictable path forward. So this is a example of where we're trying to be more proactive on a site. And if this goes well, we will hopefully do more in areas that need development, especially in the Central West End. More tax exempt and parking lots we develop in the Central West End and our stronger neighborhoods, the more return we can get for our city schools and our other city departments for tax revenue. I'd like to hand it over to Paul. He'll go in greater depth on the planning study and redevelopment plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. As Zach said, 4359 Lindell Boulevard used to be the Engineers Club. The Engineers Club does still own the parcel, but they no longer occupy the building. It's approximately just under an acre in total, and sort of years of deferred maintenance have led to a whole host of issues with the building itself. The roof leaks in places, there's cracks in foundation, water gets in, which has led to some mold. There's some delamination on the building envelope. In the parking lot, you can see some of the condition of the parking lot as well. And then that photo is the north facade, the rear of the building. You can see some of the conditions there. If we go to the next photo, just more showing the parking lot, the eastern facade of the building. You can see that the property is not being maintained anymore. There's uncontrolled vegetation. And I think there might be one more set of photos. Yeah, this view is the southern facade, the front of the building from the Lindell right of way. Yeah, so I'm requesting a finding of blight and approval of the redevelopment plan to sort of proactively put this property in front of developers seeking to rehabilitate. If they're able to utilize the building, we would certainly encourage that, but we also understand a lot of the issues that the building presents given the years of deferred maintenance. So the plan does allow for demolition as well.
We also like to point out for a market rate project, we were allowed for up to 10 years at 90% for tax abatement. And for a LIHTC proposal, we would allow for up to 15 years of tax abatement. So we spell that in the redevelopment plan and allows for either or. So if a developer would like to pursue LIHTC, we will allow for a higher amount of abatement.
And for LIHTC, is that also at 90%, Zach?
10 and 90 followed by 5 at 50. So
Gotcha. All right, any questions for Zach or Paul on this resolution? I'll recognize Commissioner Spencer.
Thank you. Just a couple of points. Number one, love the proactive approach to create some more predictability for our developing community. I think one of the challenges is that we have to do this site by site instead of maybe doing it in a more holistic way. But was wondering about the marketing of this property and maybe the I don't know if the Economic Development Partnership might be helping or what the plan is to make sure that developers know that this opportunity exists and that there's been some already the incentives have been, you know, put in place, assuming this all goes as planned.
The property is currently marketed. We're hoping with this additional carrot, we can get actually more people to at least look at it or possibly kick the tires on it. So the Engineers Club is eager to sell it, and have reached out to the alderman to see if that this was a possibility, and this is why we're moving forward with it, because we've had so many developers look at it and walk away from it because just the issues with the demo, possibly, and the other aspects of trying to save the building was a very higher cost than expected. So we are hoping this clears the path a little bit more for all parties. And we have a strict design guidelines, Paul, has included in the redevelopment plan that will hopefully make the neighborhood and cultural resources happy with the project too.
Great. Yeah, I didn't realize it was still listed, but I'm assuming that listing agent or brokerage will use this information when they're marketing to other developers. But I also encourage us to reach out to our lists and make sure people know, you know, that this is available and these changes have been made.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, we will market this and we'll use all our resources.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kane.
Zach, I think I read that, is this being proposed to be multifamily use, or is it open to other development use?
Oh, we're open to anything. What we spell out in the redevelopment plan, the only that's allowed for 15 years of tax abatement is the light tech, if they pursue light tech. We know this is a strong area, so we do not want to maximize the tax abatement on that. So that's why we capped the market rate type project at 10 and 90, because it's the community scorecard to score high enough points for the Central West End takes quite a bit. So that's why we think 10 and 90 is probably the maximum you can get for this area. So it could be office, could be apartments, it could be any of those or stores, even a mixed use type of use. So.
Okay, and as far as, you know, the existing structure itself, you said that demolition is an option, because I was researching a little bit before the meeting, and I know that previous developers had run up against you know, historical preservation issues and maybe walked away, is what I remember reading, and so that won't be an obstacle anymore.
No, we called out if they need to demo it, they have to have permits in hand, hold permits. So they can't just demo the property and let it sit for a while. We had to make sure we know what we're getting in exchange of the demo. So we're spelling that out in the redevelopment plan also. So you can't just demo it and sit on the property for 5 or 6 years. We need to know what's coming next. So.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think this is a good avenue to take, but to respond to a comment that Commissioner Spencer made, I think we have actually used a similar tool for neighborhoods such as Lewis Place or Fountain Park, try to give developers a preview of what incentives they would be able to pursue if they were to develop in some historically underdeveloped areas. And we'd like to keep shining a light on those opportunities for developers as well. And to the extent that we can use this to also remind developers of these other opportunities, I think that'd be very beneficial.
Yeah, good point.
Are there any other comments or questions on this resolution? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 25 LCRA 10950.
So moved, Spencer.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please? You're muted, Linda.
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye.
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
and Chair McBride.
Aye.
Motion passes without voting yes.
Thank you. And now we'll take up resolution 25 LCRA 10951 relating to Cass Avenue and I-44 area.
All will
Zach.
be doing this one, so.
Paul.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Before you is a request to approve a blighting study and redevelopment plan for Cass Avenue and I-44 redevelopment area. It is just, if you look at the map, just to give some context, it's sort of right where Interstate 70 and 44 kind of merge, I guess, and at the Stan Musial Bridge. And so it's approximately 9.5 acres in total. It's I think 26 separate parcels. Some of them are very, very small. The vast majority of the parcels in the area are vacant. The eastern sort of portion of the area does have two small industrial buildings, which are currently occupied, or at least one is occupied, one is partially occupied. And then the western portion of the area, sort of adjacent to the MoDOT right away, on ramp to the Stan Musial Bridge, is currently occupied by a encampment of unhoused individuals. I think, when I went to visit the site, there was approximately 20 or so people there. This is also a sort of proactive redevelopment plan. We have received some interest in developing this area, but nothing that's sort of fully fleshed out and ready to be brought before this board. So we're just we've identified this spot as sort of a key entrance into the city, especially for folks coming from the east. And there's also PDA is doing neighborhood planning work in this area, so this supports their efforts as well in sort of transforming this corridor. So I think we have some photos of the conditions. You can see the vacancy. This first picture is sort of from the eastern edge of the 10th Street right away. So the other side of 10th Street there is where the unhoused encampment is. I did not take photos just to sort of respect their privacy, but it's also just vacant land. And then you can see a view of sort of more vacancy along the northern boundary of the area, and you can kind of see the Stan Musial bridge off in the distance. And go to the next set. This view on the left is just more vacant lot. Looking at this is the first of the industrial buildings, partially occupied. Looking east from the 10th Street right away, so just out of view on the right side of the picture is Cass Avenue, and then this is sort of right next to that building, looking north along the 9th Street right away towards the other industrial building that is currently occupied. And then just further north along 9th Street, you can see more of the vacancy. And then also another view of the vacancy along the northern boundary of the area. And I think that might be all the photos we have. So I'll entertain any questions you all have at this time.
It looks like it's ripe for needing some help, and I think this is a good tool to encourage developers to view these properties. Commissioner Spencer.
Just a quick question on the ownership. There's a lot of different parcels. Are they some city-owned parcels? Are they all, or a majority privately owned? And are those owners, have they been contacted? Are they in the discussions? Are they the ones that are, proposing that we take this action today. I think it's a great idea. Just wanted to get a little more background.
Yeah, there are several property owners. There's one sort of individual entity that has several of the parcels under ownership or under contract, that has sort of been the impetus for or one of the sort of ideas for looking at this area. I think she, has had discussions with all the other property owners. Some of it is MoDOT right of way as well. It's owned by MoDOT. So yeah, there are several parcels and several ownership sort of questions. So we did put in the redevelopment plan that before a redevelopment agreement could be entered into, if we get to that point that it would all the parcels would have to be under common ownership, or at least under contract to be under common ownership, as well as a boundary adjustment, consolidating the lots into as few parcels as sort of
Right.
feasible to facilitate any proposed development, just to kind of clean up some of that ownership confusion.
Yeah, that's the history of our city. Lots of small parcels and different ownership. So I think that what you guys are doing is really proactive and can help get the development that we all want to see. And it's not going to happen with 15 or 20 different owners having a say in it.
So, and we have up to 25 years of tax abatement on this redevelopment plan. So once after it goes through the Board of Aldermen and becomes an ordinance, any type of development proposal would come back before this board, we designate developer, and that project be scored with a financial scorecard and community scorecard, and had to meet the standards set forth in both those scorecards, and pass this board before we enter in a redevelopment agreement to move forward.
All right, Commissioner Jones.
Just, there are a couple of businesses there. Has any effort made to specifically contact them and let them know what's going on?
Yeah, one of the individual who is sort of interested in potentially redeveloping this area has a business that is occupied and that is in the area. She occupies part of the industrial building, and she owns several of the parcels and has several of the other parcels under contract. And I think we haven't personally talked to anybody, but I'm from my conversations with her, she's talked to everyone in the area, including the neighbors, and is generating support for sort of transforming this corridor, and this specifically this about 10-acre section of land.
Okay.
Really good. Any additional questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 25 LCRA 10-951.
So move, request a previous roll.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded with the request for previous roll. Or is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, motion passes and the resolution is approved. Right now, we'll take up Resolution 25 LCRA 10-952 relating to the amendment of the agreement for underground storage tank closures at 5306 Virginia. Cameron Crack, you're going to walk us through that, please.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. So yeah, we're asking for authorization to amend our current contract for environmental UST services at Virginia. The original contract was set at a not to exceed amount of $40,000, and with this amendment, the total will be a not to exceed of about $80,000. So that's a pretty significant increase. So I'll just give you some context as to why that is. When excavation began, the groundwater flooded into the pit. And so when the groundwater floods into the pit, we have to test it before we dispose of it. Fortunately, when we tested it the first time around, it was clean, so we could dispose of it normally. But there wasn't a sewer connection, so we still had to dispose of it elsewhere. But then another thing that popped up when we dug up the underground storage tank was that it turned out to be fiberglass, not steel, as the old MDNR reports said they were. So it had to be disposed a little bit differently than it normally would be. But the biggest cost driver that came up was when we opened up the tank itself. After we tested it, it had contaminated special waste, which required unique handling and disposal procedures, the disposal being the most expensive part of that whole ordeal. So that is basically the context behind all of that. And the original contract had all the unit rates to account for all of this, but again, given the nature of the services of removing an underground tank, we can't really know what we're going to get until we get down there, or just refer to old reports based off of context. So again, we got down there. There was more stuff than we anticipated, but we did have unit costs for it, and this contract is seeking an amendment for those services. So at this time, I'll open it up, see if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Cameron. Does that fiberglass material then raise any remediation concerns?
I don't believe so. Peter, would you be able to speak on that at all?
No, the fiberglass itself is not a remediation concern. And in addition, after the tank was pulled and all of the water was pumped in and of, and the liquid was taken out of the tank, there were samples taken after the tank was pulled, the soil itself, and there was some excavated soil taken itself after the tank was pulled. And samples were taken, everything was checked off, and we should be good to go, and it was backfilled. So everything should have met the criteria, and we've been partnering with MDNR among the whole thing, and it met all the criteria that was necessary, so it was backfilled, and we should be good to go.
Thank you. And with regard to the flooding, was that a foreseeable issue, or is that something that that our contractor could not account for?
You know, I mean, it was groundwater. You dig into the pit.
Oh, it was groundwater. Okay.
Groundwater filled it after they dug into it. It's like,
okay.
Can it be foreseen? Maybe. You know, like it just kind of depends on the water table, I suppose. I mean, it's possible, but when they pumped it, you know, like they were able to get it out, the tank out before it refilled. So, which I guess was good, but the issue is but they had to test it before they could dispose of it, because the issue was that just because it was groundwater, we can't confirm that it can go through the sewer discharge system, because we're not 100% sure at that time that the soil around the tank isn't contaminated. So we can't just put that water right into the sewer system without testing it first. So they pump it out, put it in storage tanks, test it, wait for the test results before they can dispose of that water. Same thing with the liquid that's in the tank that they found when they unmasked the tank. They have to test that liquid beforehand. Good news was the water that filled the pit when they unearthed it, that was good enough to dispose of through the sewer system. The liquid inside the tank was not. So that had to be disposed of as special waste.
All right, thank you, Peter. Commissioner Spencer.
Peter, that explanation shows how valuable you are as a resource to SLDC. So thank you for that background. A couple of questions. Number one, is this site, it's an LRA owned site, but is this part of a development that's happening, or is this to clean up the site to be able to have a more marketable site for development?
This is in the DeSales community housing mixed use development.
Yeah.
I
kind of thought it was in that area. I wasn't sure though.
Yeah. So, I mean, now to be clear, this tank, I mean, it's in the LRA, inventory, and it's something that it's something that was on MDNR's radar. It was never closed out properly.
Right.
It needed to get done anyway, but it also happened to be in the footprint of this planned development by DeSales. And so it was kind of something that pushed it to the priority list.
Sure. And was this to be built on for housing, or is this parking, or what's the end use?
I will need to 100% confirm
I'm just wondering if
this.
there's any additional issues from the phase 2 or the more work that's not allowing it to be a residential.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they plan on putting some multifamily housing on top of it. I don't foresee any environmental issues that are going to keep development happening on the site.
That's great. Well, you and I have talked about some similar projects over all the years. I'm wondering, are we getting reimbursed for these expenses through EEIRA or the PISTIF program, or was that even an option to help pay for some of these expenses?
Not all sites are PISTIF eligible, and this one was not. So this one, we're using the ARPA funds for it.
Okay.
So it's, reimbursed. No. ARPA funds is kind of like, would we like to use ARPA funds on other things? Yeah, but I mean, it's a good use of the ARPA funds, in my opinion, from the land assemblage and, like site clearing funds, like it is, like, especially with a development in mind, like we're clearing the site for a planned redevelopment. So
yeah. My point was just understanding how it was paid for, so that's good to know that you had some available funds to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this resolution? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 25 LCRA 10-952.
So move, request
Move.
for referral.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded with request for previous roll. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. Thank you, Camry. Now we'll take up Resolution 25 LCRA 10-953 regarding security for a security contract with American Security LLC for 615 Olive Street. Let's see, Peter unmuted himself for that.
Yes, I'll be taking this one and the next one, I think. So Resolution 25 LCRA 10953 is essentially a follow-up resolution to a resolution back in May. That resolution in May was an authorization for a temporary, like short-term contract for security services at this site, while we went through a procurement process for a more long-term contract for security services. And this authorization is the result of that procurement process. So at the end result of that procurement process, we came to the recommendation for American Security LLC, or DBA Hudson Security. And so the site in question here, we're talking about, like more commonly known as the Railway Exchange, and also the adjacent City Block 129, the garage and surface parking lot. That is the area we're talking about here. Is we're kind of patrolling and securing the building, the exterior of the building itself, and the garage and surface parking lot, just kind of making sure that we have some presence and deterring any intrusion into the building and or garage. And so that is essentially, we're looking for the scope of services as it was solicited and that we seek to enter into contract for is 24/7 security services. There are other escalation, like slight escalation provisions in there for incorporation of any increases for living wage for the following year, any potential modifications for extra guards as needed for potential events or extra overtime, things like that, up to a degree. And there's also potential modifications in there for scaling down, depending on how we may utilize existing and or future technology to incorporate, maybe being a little bit more advanced and efficient in how we utilize that technology moving forward with providing those security services. So with that being said, we expect to have this contract run with a year term with an option to renew. We plan on using the funding source, the ARPA funds from the land assemblage funds, to follow up on the same funding source that we used to acquire the garage and the surface lot, for the acquisition and maintenance of this, priority project area, to, protect the investment that we've started with this project. And that whole purpose is that's what we're doing is, we have dedicated, the city is dedicated to this project. And so now we need to make sure that as we have now really started to invest millions into it, we need to make sure that it's protected. The last part I want to mention, in case you didn't see, based on all of the scope that I mentioned in the 1-year term, we have a not to exceed 310 and 2336 is the breakdown that we have created with that scope for 24/7 and the additional hours potentially for scaling up that we have allotted, and the potential living wage adjustment that we have worked out. That is the number we came to. So at this time, I will open it up for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Peter. Who's providing the security service current?
That is Citizens Investigations.
Okay, so a different entity altogether.
Correct. And that was the entity that was entered into temporarily, which was the entity that the building division was contracting with when we took it over, from them on a temporary basis. We just took that kind of contract over until we went through the full procurement process ourselves.
Right. Because I haven't seen a lot of physical presence during the day by the current group. And they're just, if I were to open the window behind me, then we would see the Railway Exchange building. So I appreciate that we're going with American Security DBA Hudson. And I don't want to get in the detail, but it's going to be 24/7. Is that going to be in person or remote, or is that something that we should, if we discuss it, should be in closed session?
I think so. I think the plan is, if it currently right now, like the way it is written is in person, I think there is, again, depending on how we build it out, I think the specifics might be a closed session discussion, but the way it is kind of written is 24/7 in person. But if anything changes, like if we go into very specific details about, like routes and presence and stuff like that, maybe it's not a public discussion, I suppose.
I agree, but I agree, and I don't know that I need to get into that right now. Any questions for Peter on this resolution? Oh, would the existing, what I'm going to call panels, I'm not positive what the official name is, would the existing panels remain from the previous security contracting?
Yeah, that's a whole separate contract, separate from the security service provider anyway. They'll stay.
Okay, so they'll stay. That's good. All right. Commissioner Spencer.
I just have a question since we're on the topic. Is there any more movement on the demo of the parking garage?
I will probably defer to Rob on that, because I don't have any comment.
Rob has his hand, so recognize Rob Orr.
Yeah, good afternoon, commissioners. We are still working on that. We have acquired the garage and the surface parking lot in City Block 129. We are, there's some real estate issues that I don't really want to get into at this point, but we are also seeking to secure additional funding to pay for the demolition. So we think we're a good portion of the way there, but we're not all the way there yet. So much more to come in the coming months on that. But our goal is to get it down as soon as we possibly can secure funding to do so.
Thanks for
It's
saying
an
it.
eyesore, an attractive nuisance, a danger.
It's one of the worst.
All bad.
And along the 7th Street connector there and Hotel St. Louis, I've got a friend that's having their daughter is getting married at the hotel, and that was the first thing he mentioned, is what are they going to do with that, the parking garage. So I know it's on your radar. I'm glad there's some movement, and I've got a few dollars in my wallet if it'll help, but I'm glad it's a priority. Thank you.
Every little bit will help.
All right, I'll drop it off at your office.
Very good. All right. So Commissioner Spencer is passing the hat. Anyone else questions or comments on this resolution?
There is a question in the chat. I'm not sure current rules that we have about questions from the chat of the Q&A.
Typically we just take questions from the commissioners, and I think that one actually would go into the process. I'll let Olivia weigh in on that, but getting into why a particular respondent was chosen, I think may go into an executive session question, but I'll let Olivia Finley opine.
That'd be correct, Chair McBride. We would, at this time, though it is a public meeting, it's not a public hearing, so we don't take public comments except from members of the board. If there are questions, participants are welcome to submit requests for public information. However, at this time, other bids would remain closed until we have a contract that's executed.
Thank you. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Otis.
Well,
and
thank
I
you.
recognize
Chairman.
Rob Orsi, and I recognize Rob's hand.
Yeah, thank you. I lowered it and then raised it again. Hudson is a local firm. We have selected a local firm.
Very good. And I know that there's a rigorous process in the executive committee, or the selection committee, excuse me. All right, if there are no other questions, then I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 25 LCRA 10953.
So moved. Request for previous role.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded with request for previous role. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. All right, now we'll take up resolution 25 LCRA 10954 relating to a contract for security with Wheeland Security for 3940 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, also known as the Monarch.
All right, thank you.
Peter?
Yes, so resolution 10954 is very similar vein to the last one, and by very similar I mean at the same time in May, LCRA also authorized the temporary security contract for this facility for a few months while we went through another procurement for this facility. And in front of you in this authorization is the results of that public procurement. And for this, the recommended firm as the results of this procurement is Wayland or DBA Gardaworld. And the Gardaworld is actually the incumbent security firm that has been there and won previously, solicited contracts and, for security services here for, I think, since we've done this back, since we've had it in 23. And we have been satisfied with their services and they've responded and it's been evaluated. And I will mention, I guess, as part of what Rob mentioned in terms of it being local and through the staff and substantial awards evaluation processes, again, price is always a factor in the evaluation considerations. So, but through those evaluations, Gardaworld rose to the top. And so I want to mention a little bit as a context for this site that, while we are continuing to evaluate and put together the plan for the ultimate redevelopment of this site, since we acquired it in 23, the end of 23, it is actually in use currently to a small degree for the tornado recovery efforts as a kind of a warehouse for staging of materials and distribution of, repair materials. I can't speak to exactly all of the materials that are going in and out of it, but I know that the recovery office is utilizing it daily for, materials for that effort. And so we have found an interim use for it. And so I would actually, argue that security at the site is imperative because we are storing and moving materials in and out and people are going in and out. And so it is nice to see that there is actually activity at the site and it is being utilized. So just wanted to give that note that while, while we are continuing and we haven't, seen major leaps and bounds to the workforce development, center that we are all hoping to see it turn into one day, it is actually in use and is being utilized by the city for productive efforts, at least in the interim. So the only other context I wanted to add, again, with this particular selection is that the terms are essentially the same. It would be for a one-year contract with the option to extend if approved by the board. This proposal shall not exceed $292,817. And that number also factored in that escalation for potential increase in the living wage next year, and also for potential necessary increase in staff time for extra overtime or emergencies, et cetera, that might be needed on an emergency basis. But again, the plan would be for 24/7 services. And then with the potential to modify as necessary as the year goes on. And I will go ahead and open it up for any questions.
Thank you, Peter. Any questions on this resolution? I think I just want to point out that these last two resolutions just highlight the high holding costs for property owners in the city of St. Louis, and that it can be it's burdensome for the LCRA, but also it's burdensome for private companies and individuals as well.
Mhm.
If there's nothing else, then at this time I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 25 LCRA 10954.
So
So
moved.
moved as previous role.
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Spencer with a request for previous roll, and seconded by Commissioner Jones. Is there any objection to the request for previous roll? Hearing none, motion passes and the resolution is approved. All right, thank you, staff, for your work in putting all this together. Do we have anything in open agenda?
No, sir.
All right. There's nothing else before this commission. Our next board meeting is scheduled for October 28, 2025. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. the matters addressed on our agenda have been resolved. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good weekend.